Namaste and welcome to the Jyotishi YouTube channel. Today we are going to be talking about the 8 limbs of yoga and see how these 8 limbs can help us move forward in life. Yoga has been misunderstood as just asanas,
Yes.
right? But Maharishi Patanjali in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra says there are 8 limbs to yoga,
Yes.
right? Where he starts from yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, dhyana, dharana, and samadhi.
Yes.
Right now, to start with, these are 8 parts of yoga. When practiced in its entirety, then yoga becomes a way of life,
Yes,
right? Where
yes.
currently the problem with the understanding of yoga today is people just think that if you have a flexible body,
Yes.
then you are doing yoga,
Yes.
right? But Maharishi Patanjali says that this is not so. When
Yes.
practiced in its entirety in the 8 limbs,
Yes.
then yoga becomes a way of life,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Could you elaborate more on these 8 limbs?
Yes.
Then we can.
Yes. So, to start with, Hindu philosophy talks about Shad Darshana, 6 philosophies. That is Shad 6 and Darshana philosophies. They are Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Mimamsha, Vaisheshika, and Vedanta. So Vedanta is very common, the Ant of the Vedas, the end of the Vedas. So most of the Hindu Sanatana Dharma, we talk about Upanishads and Vedanta. And another thing which is famous is the second one, yoga. So yoga is also pretty famous. So Nyaya talks about the legal systems and all that. Mimamsha talks about the ethical behavior. All these philosophies primarily lead us to a way of life wherein we can attain moksha. So in this context, yoga is primarily, as defined by Rishi Patanjali, is primarily Ashtanga Yoga. So it is 8 angas, so 8 limbs, kind of. So 8 steps wherein you can probably lead a prosperous life in terms of a moksha kind of the end goal. So that is pretty important. So in this, the first one we talk about yama. So, as you said, the first step, Yama talks about something to do with external. So, something to do with external, and then you control those external influences, leading to a disciplined life. So, these externals could be like ahimsa. So, for example, I will not, kill people. I will not kill animals. I will not fight with people and those kinds. So ahimsa, satya, those kind of things. I will speak the truth and those kind of things. So it starts with yama, then it talks with niyama. Niyama is something to do with internal.
Right.
So we sort of set the external perspectives right, then we talk about setting our internal perspective right. So internal perspective, wherein you can sort of think about good thinking, good thought process. Then you have a dedicated sort of a lifestyle, and you talk about your practice of meditation, your practice of mantras, and those kind of things. So that is a internal perspective from a niyama kind of a thing.
Right. So now let's just take these 2 points, right?
Yes.
Yama and niyama.
Yes.
How does one go about practicing just the yama and niyama, right? Like for
Yes.
example, in a situation, let's say where you have been pushed to a certain extent.
Yes.
How do you restrain or how do you practice ahimsa, right?
Yes.
Because your internal world and the external world both have an influence,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Now, or maybe saying the truth,
Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
how do you say the truth all the
Yes.
time? Or maybe brahmacharya as well,
Yes,
right? Like
yes.
practicing of brahmacharya
Yes.
in this world that is so full of images that
Yes.
essentially stimulate your 5 senses, right?
Yes.
That is maybe the right way of putting it.
Yes.
And then which in turn stimulates, it doesn't help you live a celibate life.
Yes.
Celibate not in the sense that you abstain from sex, but
Yes.
the practice of brahmacharya as a thought process as
Yes,
well, right?
yes.
Where your mind is on the Brahman.
Yes.
So how does one go about, practicing yama and niyama?
Yes. So that is where Sanatana Dharma beautifully, sort of says, there is no difference between you, me. There is no difference between Jivatmas like us. There is no difference between a Jaratma and you. So where it says that we all are from the same source. So if you sort of have that perspective, and any action that you do, you will think that you're hurting yourself. You're not hurting others. You're not speaking lies against others. You're speaking lies against yourself.
Right.
So you are polluting yourself. You're not polluting the external world. So from that perspective, if that perspective is set right from a daily life perspective, then it becomes more easier to handle situations. So from that perspective, if you go, then your practice of the external world or your practice of the internal world is not interdependent on what happens of this external stimuli.
Right. Also, Maharishi Patanjali, just about Yama and Niyama, talks about siddhis that are attained
Yes.
because of practicing Yama and
Yes,
Niyama, right? Like,
yes.
for example, in the real world, if
Yes.
you aren't facing success in a few things in life, he
Yes.
says practicing Satya
Yes.
will move you towards success,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So that is one.
Yes.
Or in the Niyama side of things, if you're practicing like Pratyahara,
Yes.
non-accumulation,
Yes.
then you get siddhis of, looking back into past lives,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So for a person listening to us,
Yes.
like how does this help him in his day-to-day activities?
Yes.
What will he attain by practicing Yama and Niyama?
Yes. So for example, now you want to learn music. There is a process.
Right.
So if you cut down 2 or 3 or 4th step, the entire process does not work.
Right.
So there is a certain set of process, and out of those processes, Yama and Niyama are the basic skill sets.
Yes.
So there is no point, if you are not following those processes and then daily doing yoga,
Right.
it doesn't serve that purpose.
Right.
Maybe physically you will be having
Fit.
some
Yeah.
muscles here and there. Apart from that, that is not the intent here. The
Right.
intent here is to connect yourself from a Lagna, moon and sun perspective, body, mind and soul perspective. So unless these three are sort of coming together and combining together, there is no purpose of attaining, there is no moksha which is coming here in play.
Got it.
So once you they are in all same direction, it makes much more sense from that perspective.
Okay. So I think that is the first two limbs of yoga,
Yes,
right? Which
yes.
is asana. Sorry, now let's move on to asanas,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Now asana not only talks about the physical body,
Yes.
where you become much stronger,
Yes.
but it also, regular practice of asanas also help the other realms,
Yes.
right? Like for example, your mind settles down.
Yes.
Right, the 7 levels of our existence, all of them are brought into
Yes.
harmony with the help of asanas,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Now, how can you define asanas from that perspective, where it is not just about how flexible you are,
Yes.
but how it helps us harmonize all the levels of our existence?
Yes. So that is the beauty about Sanatana Dharma. We don't primarily, or we rather focus on multiple effects of the body. So we don't focus on Stula Sharira alone. So for example, you go to a cult fit, you go to a Gold's Gym kind of a thing. The focus is Stula Sharira, the gross body. You have six pack, you have muscles here and those kind of things. That doesn't end here in Sanatana Dharma. The Sanatana Dharma focuses on Sukshma and Karana Sharira as well. So there is a physical body, there is a gross body, there is a subtle body. So there are, our tradition defines, it's very sort of ethereal to explain this, but it defines our soul, our body as 3 different levels, and the asana is embarks the end of your physical and then movement into your subtle kind of a
Right.
body. So from there, you have various asanas. So you have Padmasana and those kind of things. So the physical body is taken care, and then from there we move on to the ethereal kind of a space, wherein after asana you start with pranayama.
Right.
So again, there are different levels and stages of pranayama, invoking different chakras and those kind of things. And so from a physical body, we move on to the gross body now.
Right. So now, since you touched upon pranayama, the impact of the breath on on the physical body is of course there, right?
Yes.
Like for example, your 90% of the toxins from the body are eliminated
Yes.
by the breath,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But also, if you look at it now, we are moving to a more subtler dimension, which is
Yes.
the mind, right?
Yes.
Where every breath has a correlation with the state of your mind.
Yes.
Like when you're
Yes.
angry,
Yes.
your breath is fast,
Yes.
right? Or when you're happy, the breath is long and deep,
Yes.
right? Now, one of the advantages of doing pranayama or practicing pranayama, it helps you manage your mind better. Apart
Yes.
from that, how does pranayama help?
Yes, so it is beautifully correlated from a Vedic astrology perspective. So Vayu Tattva is defined by Saturn. So Saturn represents the Vayu Tattva among the planets, and the Vayu Tattva, Saturn is the slowest of the planets. So it is also a karmic planet. So the Vayu, you would have noticed the animals and the elements in this world who breathe slower the breath, the better the mind control, because Saturn and Moon has a beautiful combination. Saturn and Moon causes something called a Vish Yoga, which sort of encapsulates the Moon, and we get into a negative thought process and those kind of things. But if you sort of allow the Saturn to beautifully integrate with the Moon, then your breath is under total control. Your mind is under total control. You are in the phase wherein your thought process is in very right direction. So similarly, from a pranayama perspective, coming back to the breath control not only leads to increasing lifespan, it also leads to your control of the mind. So from a mind perspective, you are channelizing your thought process in 1, 2, 3 particular directions from maybe 10, 20 million kind of a thing.
Right.
So that automatically brings in sort of relief and clarity in our thinking process.
Right.
And it also brings in the element of karma. The Saturn's karma, which comes from this combination, it comes from a beautiful perspective that it brings single-minded focus onto our sort of karma.
Got it. So that is now about pranayama,
Yes.
right? Now you go on to dharana, which is
Yes.
again concentration.
Yes.
Now, since you spoke about single-pointed focus,
Yes.
you've automatically moved on
Moved
to
on
the
to-
dharana.
yes, yes.
Now it becomes very hard, right? The
Yes.
more you try to focus on something, the mind runs away from
Yes.
it. So how does Maharishi Patanjali talk about dharana here?
Yes. So, in terms of concentration, there are various methods prescribed. So you can probably, focus on the focal eye. You can probably focus on your chakras, whether it is Mooladhara or Sahasrara. You can probably chant mantras. You can probably think about a deity and then focus your attention there. So so it is basically to do with, we have done a video on how to eliminate negativity, right?
Right.
So it is basically to do with fill your mind space with positivity and then slowly eliminating negativity from that space.
Okay.
So that is how the focus, it is not a simple journey, it is a long-term journey in terms of concentration. So you should probably reach a stage where you close your eyes. Rather than thinking about multiple girlfriends, you think about one particular focus. So it could be Shiva, it could be Krishna, it could be, and that is the best sort of a method in terms of concentration.
Right. Now, then we move on to the part of dhyana. Right?
Yes.
Now, dhyana essentially means meditation.
Yes.
And meditation has now formed a concept around the entire world, right?
Yes.
So, how does Maharishi Patanjali define meditation, and how does one get into the state of meditation?
So before that, there is something called pratyahara, wherein you sort of give away your attachment towards material things in life, and or sort of reduce the impact of material accumulation in your life. So that is pretty important before you get into your the concentration, the meditation stage, because if you have accumulations, you will keep on thinking about that. Suppose I want to earn money and become Bill Gates, I will not be able to, but because it depends on what my chart promises. But despite that, your thought process will revolve around that. It will keep coming again and again as a repeat until loop. So it's better to give away and then focus on meditation. So meditation here, again, Sanatana Dharma beautifully defines various methodologies, and the best sort of method is from a bhakti perspective. From a bhakti perspective, wherein you are one with the consciousness. So you come to a realization stage. It is easy to say, but you come to a realization stage wherein you find no difference between you and an external person, an external thing. So that is the frame of meditation, and to help in that meditation, bhakti sort of helps you in a very strong way. because when you have single pointed focus towards, say, Saraswati or Lakshmi or Shiva or Krishna, your entire indriyas are sort of focused on that particular direction, and then you totally focus on that, and then get along with that meditation process.
Right. Now, samadhi again has a lot of concepts, right?
Yes.
Like people think that samadhi is one person sitting
Yes.
cross-legged for years with an
Yes.
anthill that has
Yes.
gone over him,
Yes.
right? But samadhi is actually that equanimous state of consciousness where
Yes.
nothing can shake you,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And samadhi again has multiple forms,
Yes.
like nirvikalpa samadhi
Yes.
and multiple forms,
Yes.
right? Does the practice of these 7 steps help you to get into samadhi? What
Yes.
is Maharishi Patanjali
Yes,
saying?
so it is a long journey. It is
Right.
it is not that I start this process today, tomorrow something will happen. It may take millions of years of rebirths and births, and that is exactly the reason, you know. So there are two reasons why, two major reasons why Vedic, anything to do with Vedic sort of takes time to kind of evolve. So it is like Carnatic music, right? So you need to have a special sense of flavor to appreciate that particular music, or Hindustani or Bharatnatyam. So similarly, anything to do with Vedic in this country and this world, there is a lack of fund. So people pumping fund in, say, a fitness club and those kind of things, your mind space is occupied by that, because the media entirely focuses on that, and then you move ahead in that direction. Second thing is, it is a long-term journey. The journey, the effects of the journey, it is a process. It's a long-term journey, and the effects of the process may not be felt today, tomorrow, day after. It will take a long time, and hence, you know, people sort of get very disheartened, and the motivation level goes down, and those kinds. So these two things, if you are in a position to maintain your motivation levels and move forward, then you are actually moving that particular direction in terms of samadhi. And then nirvikalpa, or whatever the type, different types are there, and there are certain types wherein you can be in this world, you can be out of this world. There are certain types where it's time for you to move on, kind of a thing. So that stage is a very difficult stage to achieve, but at least you can take that process,
Right.
and then move in that direction. Why we should move? Because it's not giving me any benefit. That is up to you to decide.
Right.
Because I'm not getting any tangible benefits by doing all these things. I am not feeling happy. If you are getting that feeling, then there's definitely the feeling will be positive. If you start practicing this, and along with other the methods prescribed, that the bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, karma yoga, and all that, and if you practice that, definitely there will be benefits in that particular direction. So primarily, ultimately leading to something called kaivalya. So, which is what Sanatana Dharma primarily prescribes. So, if there is a signature of Sanatana Dharma, it is kaivalya, it is moksha.
Right.
So, ideally, if you start moving in that direction, your chip will start getting triggered, and then you will move in that direction.
So, like Anand mentioned, the 8 limbs essentially helps us move towards kaivalya, right, or towards moksha. Once we can all start from yama and niyama and bring in these practices into our daily lives, and then slowly all the other limbs will essentially follow into our lives. Also, practice of pranayama and asanas will help us move, or help our mind settle down, which will then help us, go into dhyana, dharana, and then samadhi. So there are a sequence of steps that can be followed based on what Maharishi Patanjali is saying in the Yoga Sutras. We strongly urge all of you to read the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which will help you move in this particular direction. If you like our video, please subscribe to the channel below. Thank you.